everyone. Welcome to Bounty Hunt on a Sunday. It happens sometimes. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson, and joining me to talk all things Andor on this show is the full cast of characters, the guys I just can't get enough of, and the guys I would happily be trapped on the prison moon of Narkina 5 with. Starting off with the Kino Lloyd of my Cassian Andor. It's Dr. Corey Helton. What's up, buddy?
Hello. Good, man. Good. Happy to be here on this Sunday to talk about this very dark episode of Andor.
For real. I'm drinking an iced coffee, which I'm realizing isn't great because it's going to get my heart going, and I'm already tense just thinking about what happened this week. But I'm very excited to dive into it with you as always. But of course, we could not dive in properly. Actually, we could. We've done it many times before, but we don't have to this week. Dr. Charles Hankel returns to Bounty Hunt. Hey, buddy.
Hey, guys, I'm back. I've had some busy weekends, and then I got COVID, and so that's why I'm here today. I literally can't be around anyone else except for you guys. So here I am.
Oh, you're so nice. I appreciate that. That when you're at your lowest, when you're at your most ill, you think of us.
Right.
If you only had a good doctor like Dr. Gorst, who we'll talk about during this episode. But I will say the man who is sacrificing the most to be here, who has put his body on the line after a night of historic revelry, is the World Series champion himself, Wes Jenkins.
Welcome, everybody, to the world champion Houston Astros. Long live the Astros. For the next year, I'm going to be talking about it for another 364 days until we win it again in 2023. So if you are a fan, I know none of you are. There's probably a fraction of you that are cheering along with me, but I am super excited and my voice hurts and I have a massive headache today. But I did watch the episode.
You have COVID.
Yeah, I know, right? That sounds familiar to me, Wes.
Wes, you were literally like, there are dozens of us. Dozens of us.
Are you the MLB equivalent of the Empire? Is that what just happened? Did the Empire just win the World Series?
Oh, yeah. No, Wes, you literally have a poster that says Astros Empire, don't you?
I was going to get it, isn't he? Yes,
yeah.
He is. Look at that.
Yeah, there it is.
Look at that. Astros Empire. That is so funny.
Oh, man. If the Astros ran a prison, no one would get out either.
Absolutely not. Well, congrats, Wes, and to all the Astros fans out there. As a Cowboys fan, I'm glad you beat Philadelphia in the sporting event. So I appreciate that.
Accepted.
And you know what? Here's the thing. Win or lose, they still had to grease their light poles so no one would burn the city down. So well done, Astros and Wes. Thanks for being here, buddy. To everyone else, whether you watch the World Series or not, we are glad you're here to watch Bounty Hunt. If this is your first episode, this is where we recap the latest episode of Star Wars television. We talk about things we loved about it and really just how uncomfortable we were the whole time. That's kind of what it's been with the Andor episodes. So without further ado, we are going to do a full spoiler-filled recap on episode 9. Nobody's listening. I think that's how you got to say it. That's for the full effect. But here we go. Here's what happened in this week's episode of Andor. We begin with the torture of Bix by Dr. Gorst. The man relishes in the use of a sonic torture device created by the dying children of Dyson Frey. Disney Channel. It is disturbing beyond measure, and Dedra eventually gets all the information that she needs from Bix. Back on Narkina 5, we discover that Cassian has, in fact, been planning an escape. He notices that the lift is not energized, and he's trying to cut through a pipe like Shawshank Redemption, and he keeps asking how many guards are on each floor. However, Umlauf, the older gentleman, seems to be going in and out of lucidity as the shifts go on, and everyone finds out something is wrong on level 2. Meanwhile, Mon Mothma finishes another passionate speech in the Senate before being informed that her cousin has arrived at her home. Her cousin, Vel. The two check in on the progress of the rebellion as Lita tries on a gift from her aunt, completely unaware because she doesn't care about anyone but herself. That's your father and you, Lita. We're disappointed. On Narkina 5, the problem in the prison is revealed. An entire level was fried. Over 100 people are dead, but they don't know why. Umlauf continues to falter, and Cassian continues to talk of escape, and when he's warned by Kino to shut his mouth, he continues to repeat over and over, nobody is listening. The Empire does not care about them. Cyril has another irksome conversation with his mother, but then he goes to corner Dedra outside the ISB to proclaim his dedication to the cause. And maybe her? It's a love thing? I don't know. She rebuffs his advance in every way, but the tension is unmistakable. Meanwhile, Tay and Mon discuss a new problem involving Mon Mothma's funds, and the only solution is a Chandrillan banker or thug named Davo Skolden. great Star Wars name. Mon Mothma is furious, but understands the necessity for his help. Back in the prison, Umlauf takes a turn for the worse and collapses. Kino and Cassian call for a medic, but the medic can't do anything. Umlauf has had a massive stroke, and they make his passing as painless as possible. The medic also reveals the reason for the deaths on 2. A man was released on 4 and turned up on level 2 the next day. And when all the prisoners found out about it, they killed everyone. Kino and Cassian realize this means that no one is actually ever getting out of the prison, and Kino's face fills with rage. Cassian asks one more time how many guards are on each level. Never more than 12. All right, fellas. Okay, so horrible. No one's getting out alive. Let's talk a bit about this. This episode. Let's just go very general to start off. Charles, you have COVID, but you're back. We haven't heard about you in a while. I'm gonna start with you, man. What did this episode do for you?
Oh, I like this episode. I mean, I've liked all the episodes just briefly, for the ones that I've missed or the bounty hunt episodes that I've missed, but I'm digging the whole prison thing, and I'm super excited for a prison break now. I've loved Andy Serkis's performance. That was a big surprise. And I really love just this little weird, like, prison culture that they've created with like the hand signs between the tubes and the on program, and how you're literally they keep you basically from teaming up against them because they pit you against each other inherently every single day. I mean, it's really well thought out, really well done, and I'm excited to see them break out. Yeah.
If they do. No, yeah, absolutely. It's harrowing. Corey, what about you, dude? How's this one?
Yeah, this was like the most tense episode of Star Wars television that we've ever gotten. I think I was very, very sweaty by the end of it. That's my metric, apparently. This is a
sweaty show for you, yeah.
The show makes me really sweaty, man, for some reason. It's disgusting. So I don't know, man. The tension was just, it's building and building and building, and it just feels like it's just getting hotter and hotter. The moment where the two prisoner groups were side by side, and Andy Serkis's character was like slowly losing it. It was just trying to keep everybody in order and also trying to keep himself together at the same time was just really tense and scary. And I'm digging it. There's just a lot of stuff to love about this. And Charles is right. This prison culture that they've created just in a matter of a couple episodes is really impressive. It feels very immersive. It feels like the stakes are very, very high. There's lots of small character stories that get built up to that I feel like has been done a lot better in this show than it has been in other Star Wars live action shows. Like the old man, kind of slowly succumbing to, the torture of being in this system and having a massive stroke. And also that's maybe some of the first real medicine that's been actually named in Star Wars. Was pretty cool.
Track medically for you guys? Watch someone that had a stroke because he kind of lost lucidity and kind of declined. Is that kind of what it would look like? Yeah, it looks. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe if he had a bit of a blocked artery that was slowly getting worse and worse and worse until he finally did have just the final event or whatever. The stress kind of made that kind of push him over the edge. Then sure, that kind of tracks to some degree. That's my favorite Star Wars droid, actually, is R2-Re. That's R2-Re. R2.
R2. I see what you did there. That's how they would spell it. That's how they would spell it in a book. That's a weird pet peeve of mine, dude. I really hate when they spell out droid names in books. That's the thing now. They didn't used to always do it in Legends. It was sometimes they would, sometimes they didn't. No, it's always spelled out.
Does 3PO?
Yes.
THREE.
If he's in a book,
but now all of the droid names they try.
I hate that.
Now they try to make them all human names, sound like human names. You know what I mean? Like Lola, for instance.
Lola. Yeah.
Anyway.
But hella tense, hella sweaty, medical accuracy. World champion Wes, how'd you feel about this one, man?
I loved this episode just because I love the anticipation. I don't love the payoff. So we had a little bit of that last episode, but this one, at the very end, I would my last note on here. I was just who's pumped? Who's pumped more than I am from yesterday? But holy, he just goes never more than 12, and just looks straight as he asked him that question. And I was like, man, Andy Serkis is going to give it to him next episode. I can't wait to see it. So I don't know that it's going to be a payoff like we want, but it's there now. And this episode did a great job of showing it. And it also showed a little bit behind the scenes of the Senate again with Mon Mothma and her like almost questioning her motives about what she's even doing. And I was like, whoa.
Am I working with gangsters, whatever it is, you know?
Speaking of the end of the episode, I was not really keeping track. It felt like a fast episode. I didn't realize how far along I was. And I've been isolating in the guest bedroom, and I was watching this episode, and I was on that scene, on the very last scene, but I didn't know it was the last one. And I heard Nicole get home. And so he said never more than 12, and I paused it. And I was like so excited. I was like, what are they about to do? And then I was talking to Nicole on the phone, and then I got back and I hit play, and it cut to black like immediately. And I was like, what?
Oh my God. Yeah, I think like let's just talk right about Kino Loy. He was my second point, but let's just jump into him because I think last episode we talked a lot about like who is this guy? Is he just like a lapdog of the Empire? Oh, it sucks like seeing how they use rebels against each other. That's how fascism rises. This episode, it's like he kept asking like how many shifts you got left, and Umlauf he's like he's only got 40 shifts left. He's so close. He still I realize now believed everyone was gonna get out, but then it's when the second he realizes that once your sentence is over, they're just throwing you somewhere else so that someone else can start over. And it made me realize, oh my God, the signing, they've been figuring this out for months, maybe years. And then Kino Loy realizes he has now been turned into a lapdog. And then, like you said, Wes, that final moment, he's like, how many guards is he going to murder? And two, like, is this one of the I guess I'm just blown away by this show having some of the best background character performances. Like Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen, Andy Serkis as Kino Loy. Like these guys have so much going on. But what did you guys think specifically about Kino this episode versus last episode where we met him? How is his evolution here?
He's been counting down the days, and from the beginning since we saw him, he's like, I only have, it was like 360 days or something left. I forgot what it was.
Yeah.
But he's counting down the days, and that's like in the back of his mind always. I'm getting out of here in 359 days. I'm getting out of here in 358 days. He just keeps cutting it down.
And Melshi's like, don't count. And he's like, shut up. No, you're wrong.
So once he figures out, hold on a second. Once I get clocked down to 0, I go to a different floor and like completely like reset my schedule. I would lose my freaking mind. And I hope that's what he does in episode 10. Like, that's all anybody's doing, right? In the prison is counting down their days.
Yeah.
And then they're the only ones that know, except, the information gets out. But essentially, they're the only ones that know that they get put back into the system.
Yeah. It seems like a new development, too. It's not my understanding that that's been happening like the whole time.
Yeah. It seems like a not anymore kind of situation.
After the act was passed, whatever they said it a bunch of times, but I don't remember what it's called.
The one that like doubled everyone's sentence or whatever. Yeah. But I thought it was really interesting because there were a lot of very specific moments with Kino, right? He's always been like kind of a hard guy, like always, pushing all of the guys in his workroom and stuff and in his unit. And I really liked when he got real pissed off about the signing, and he was like, "You don't even know what they're saying. Like, how long does it take for word to even get up here?" Like, that was such an emotionally charged scene. And then like to counteract that, like the tube filled with guys, everyone's chatting, freaking out, like losing their mind, and then to jump forward to that quiet moment, and it's just him, Cassian, and Olaf, and the change in his mindset and like the juxtaposition of those two scenes, I thought was really, really beautiful.
Yeah. And also when he says no more than 12, like the line of the episode, that means he at one point was counting.
Yeah.
Like he at one point was planning a prison break potentially. And he has remembered that this whole time and never used it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a really big fan of that stuff, and like all the details that have slowly been coming together. Also, my theory was confirmed this episode too about the elevator not being electrified.
Yes, great pickup on that last week.
Andor pointed that out and stuff.
True.
And the only dialogue that confused me a little bit was when Cassian said, like, "We attack now." Like I thought they were like, "Oh shit, or is this about to happen like right now?" Like. But no, it seems like
Like
it seems
this
like
window in the
yeah.
future, but this is the
Also,
moment
that-
when we would.
that dude that he was talking to straight up looks like he could be related to John Boyega. They look very similar.
Yeah,
Did right?
yeah, he did.
Yeah,
The
He
same
they
did.
had
kind
very
of
similar
haircut.
facial features and haircut, and
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did they just do some stuff off screen, or did I miss something? Because I was kind of surprised when he went to the bathroom and like knocked out the plate and was like filing at whatever in the wall, and then started talking to that guy. Like I didn't remember them really establishing
Nope.
any kind of connection, or I didn't know what he was doing in the bathroom.
didn't.
Maybe we're
Yeah.
not supposed to know.
I think that's been
Yeah.
like during the 30 shifts last episode. I think we're now meant to assume that's what he's been doing.
Yeah.
Over the
Also,
month.
apparently, Cassian is willing to loudly discuss like breaking out openly,
Absolutely.
like in their
Yeah.
in
Oh,
their
yeah.
private
Listening.
because he's like they don't give a shit about us. Like,
Nobody's
they're not
listening.
to us. We can
And they're
talk all
not.
we want to because they don't
Said-
care. They just replace us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
love
he said
that.
the labor was cheaper than droids. And I was
Yeah,
like, whoa, man, that's such a
God.
like
true.
definition of slavery for like the
Yeah.
empire, like that
Mhm.
puts
Yeah.
them in that position. That's incredible.
One and it's also like that's Industrial Revolution, right? When like
Mm-hmm.
especially like you see all these things when they were using like children and everybody to like do this factory work because when the machines were just started being made, it was so expensive
Yeah.
to buy these machines, so they would just use people. And it's like again, all this show is the most realistic space show, you know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we've ever seen. And I guess I want to ask you guys, as far as the idea of the prison goes, the double sentencing, the dehumanization of them, and like of Bix, like whenever we're talking about Dr. Gorst here in a little bit, wanting to hang people just as a statement, like, is this the most evil we have ever seen
Yeah.
the Empire?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's the most visceral evil that we've ever seen.
Thank you. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it's different. It's one thing just to talk about the atrocities of the Empire, but it sort of takes away the weight. Like the
Yeah.
fact that we saw the first. A good kind of analogy about this is like think about like the First Order, and even the Empire, the way they destroyed entire planets, right? Like we saw a number of planets destroyed in the sequel trilogy, but they didn't feel like particularly, I don't know, huge or scary
It's an idea of something.
genocide. Yeah. It's you can see genocide taking place, but you don't actually see what it's like on the human level. And we're getting that in the show because it's, and that is the beauty of television. This is why we are in the golden age of Star Wars storytelling right now, I think, is because we have this long form ability to talk about in experience like the evil, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, this excellent quote here that he said torturing someone with the cries of dying children is one of the, if not the most creepy things I've ever seen them do. And I mean, we're getting that. We're getting to see what kind of like the psycho doctor, right? That, almost take pleasure in the way he's explaining it as very scientific. It's not like the evil, the alien guy that created the blue shadow virus from Clone Wars, who's like, it's not like that. He's just like very scientific of like,
He's
this
just
is really actually
objective.
very fascinating how, we actually found out that children has the most profound effect. So, you're going to get to experience that. It's just like, what the hell, dude? It's dark and
He's
creepy.
telling it, with no remorse and like absolutely no. It sounds like he has like no conscience when he's telling this. It's all informative. Like it's gonna be a good experience when you put this headset on your head.
Yeah,
but
that was terrifying.
Yeah,
That really
it reminded me of like what we hear, and I know Corey, you would especially know a lot about this. Is like the Nazi scientists from World War II, as they were coming up with like different gases and different ways to like do mass murder. Like there was so many resources put into the creation of these horrific wartime devices. And like they valued science of how can we destroy the body in different ways. And like this Gorst guy is clearly reveling in that idea just as much as the guards in the prison are reveling in the amount of ways they can torture people. And like, they don't care about wiping out an entire floor. They don't care about like, oh, this guy had a stroke. Okay, great. Just kill him. Like, I don't care. Oh, the bag's taking a while to get here. It's such a
Have we ever gotten a good doctor in Star Wars? Because we basically have like Evazan, who was
Quad Pod did his best,
awful.
Charles.
Quad Pod for sure is the reason why that guy died, and was a horrible surgeon. We got this guy Who interesting was he was wearing a white coat. I thought that was interesting. He took it off before he like got to his experiment. But anyways, wearing a white coat. It's the first time we've seen that. And then we got the guy who just like more or less euthanized Olaf. You know, whether you think that was right or not, but like. There's never been a good doctor ever. Where are the pediatricians?
We are losing her. I don't know. Sorry.
The only good doctor is the argumentative medical droid on Hoth that helped Luke like in the Bacta tank, who's like who obviously weirdly cares more about the rebellion logistics of how they're going to get equipment off the planet than he does being a doctor. That was always super weird to me. He's like, we don't have enough time to get the heavy equipment off, and Luke's like, bro, you're a doctor. Stay in your lane. Like it was just, that was funny. Yeah.
You know what I thought the technology was going to be? I thought it was going to be related to Borgullet. Like I thought it was going to be like they murdered that species or something, and then somehow Saw got a hold of one, and I don't know because it
one has a tendency to lose one's mind.
No, but it did a very similar thing. So turned your brain to scrambled eggs.
Jordan and Cohen both make great points in the chat about that torture scene, and it's interesting. Like we don't hear the cries, we saw the effect that it has, which I also think is kind of key because if they had played it, then us as audience would have listened to dying children, and I think there is a divide. We're like, okay, that's a bit too far, but seeing the effect on her is so key. But Jordan makes a great point that we have also seen torture in Star Wars before, like the torture droid from A New Hope, that becomes a therapy droid in Alphabet Squadron, like. Torture isn't something we necessarily shy away from. We got Han going on the rack in Jedi, or no, in Empire. Empire? Yeah, in Empire. Like, it is interesting to see kind of different ways the Empire seems to use this technology. But for me, at least, I think, and part of this goes to Bix, to Adriana, I believe, the actress. Like, her performance of being tortured, like the after effects were very, like you said, Corey, visceral. To me at the end, like it really, look at the fear and terror in her eyes.
The screams.
You could see that. How she acted it. That was terrifying, dude. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now,
I also want to highlight Dedra for a second, because we've gotten to really see her really grow into an excellent character. She's really quickly becoming maybe my favorite new Star Wars character that we've gotten from this entire show, because I feel like she is very complex, and like I feel like we still haven't quite figured out her motivations totally yet. And Denise Go, who plays, I think it's how you say her last name, Denise Go, she plays Dedra, and she did a couple interviews in the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure if you guys have seen some of that stuff.
Oh yeah, she's been in the circuit.
Yeah, she's been in the circuit, and StarWars.com published an interview with her. I think Luca, I don't know. Eric, is that something you're familiar with? I don't know. I've seen quotes that says she was at this place, Lucca or whatever. Anyway,
in Italy or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't really know what the event was, but I saw this excellent quote. I went and found it a second ago, and she said, "Tony wrote the first scenes for us to cheer for Dedra, but in the end, you don't do it anymore. She's not just a woman in a man's world, but a fascist in a world of fascists. It was important to see that power corrodes women just as much as men," is what she said in an interview. And I'm like, dude,
very revealing for the rest of the show.
Exactly. And thank you for like, our early predictions were correct. And our early hopes were kind of fulfilled of we really want to see a very powerful female character, as a villain, especially is very fascinating, interesting. It seems like women in Star Wars have often gotten the turncoat treatment in a lot of ways. So I just find it very fulfilling in a lot of ways to get a really cool evil character. The Legends books got a lot of these right, with a lot of the flaws and some of the, low key and I guess very obvious misogyny that was in some of the, some of the older Legends content. There was a handful of really great evil women characters. So, I've said this 1,000 times already on our show, but I'm just so pleased with how well they are developing her character. And I hope her arc continues to be really good, through its end. Because she's just been very, very evil, and I've loved it. It's very believable.
And this episode alone, she condones Dr. Gorst's torture, repeatedly. She kind of gets a little kick out of it. The guy says, "Oh, can I just hang this guy?" And she's like, "Whatever you want. I don't care." Almost dismisses the hanging of a human. She basically threatens but almost makes out with Cyril. It's a whole, we'll hit that. It's a whole thing. But she's like, listen, I will knife you. And he's like, I'm kind of into it. But she's like all about that, like that power structure. She talks about, we didn't even hit the pilot. They're going to kill and frame so the rebellion can find his body. And shit. Like,
that was,
she
odd
signs off
details.
on a lot of tortures and deaths in this one episode. And she's just like, I'm in it now. I'm in charge and people are going to suffer because of me. And it's all for order. Thank you, Mini Tarkin, my assistant. Like, this scene, they are very close with their mouths. I'm just saying.
I would love to talk about this a little bit too, because
I feel nauseous.
I know, dude. We are 9 episodes in, and Cyril's arc is just really turning out to be insane. And I think that is, I honestly think that's the point, I guess, a little bit of like he is really coming apart at the seams, it seems like.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's getting more and more obsessed with like the situation, and now he's obsessed with Dedra. He's been waiting for her outside of work, and she was like really unnerved by this too, which is very interesting. We've not really seen her show
are you stalking
any
me?
weakness.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Grabbed her
exactly.
arm.
Well, do we expect anything less from a guy who eats Captain Crunch for every single meal? Every single meal.
Also, the guy clearly is like, oh, you're a strong woman in power. You think he's got some mommy issues, guys? Looking at Cyril, you know what I mean? Like,
go Nobi's comment here. I can't wait till Cyril brings home Dedra to meet his mom. I'm still not convinced that there's not going to be a scene that his mom gets carted away, because they are really starting to show a lot of conflict between them, which is very weird. And she's also a little crazy. I think we're supposed to understand that.
Oh, she's definitely crazy. But he's getting
like,
serial killer vibes now. When he said like, you've been in my secret box, I have ways of knowing, or something, I was getting like chills. I was like, I don't like
what animal parts are in that box?
Yeah, really.
I forgot about that dialogue,
hamster, dude.
Private box or secret box or whatever he called it. But
yes,
I wrote down that
ways of knowing.
It seems like he's flirting with like the far spectrum of whatever the Empire is, whether it be extremism or something. But it's like he's slowly like, if the Empire is going to push people to do like into slavery and make these things, he wants to kill everybody as they're done making the things, right? So he's trying to be over the top of what the Empire is, like just from what I'm seeing. Who waits outside? He's probably been out there for weeks, just like, not today, I guess. I'll go. Sleep.
He's probably trying different entrances until he figured out which one she uses. His tie was super weird too, by the way. Did y'all notice that?
It comes out of the shirt or something.
He's like, I've waited for you. You can smack me if you want. Do you want to shoot me? Great, just do it in the knee, and then I'll limp to you. Like, he's got some really weird vibes.
They did a good job to show how out of place he looked when he was like going back and forth, like waiting for him. Like he looked out of place.
Yeah, he does look very out of place. I still have no idea what is going to happen. I mean, I guess maybe Dedra could like sort of sacrifice him in a known suicide mission that she's sort of in on and the viewer sort of in on. We get to see it. Like maybe she manipulates his obsession somehow. But other than that, I really don't know what the hell is going to happen with Cyril, a character who we thought was going to be like one of the main characters. I guess he is in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he's still going.
It is they are really taking their time developing him.
I feel like he's going to do something like that even Dedra thinks is too far in an effort to like impress her and like try to get in with her.
I did this for you. And
she's going to be like, yo, you're insane.
Like, that's a good one. Actually. Yeah.
He's like, I put the screams of the dying children on an MP3 and then I leaked it into the net. It's like, bro.
Yeah, totally. Oh yeah, look at him in this scene. That's a good catch, Wes, with him like being kind of out of place. Like he's the only one in dark. Everybody else is
very out of place. Like nobody's in the middle there, and he's in the middle, like just staring.
Yeah,
I know.
And let's repeat the incredible design work of the ISB building. I know we've seen it a bunch, but like this is one of the most immaculately designed locations we've seen in Star Wars. I think for me.
I mean, I would apply just for the benefits. They obviously have great benefits.
Oh yeah, the overtime is a little much, but come on, the dental has to be immaculate. Just like
listen, Wes. The United States Army is constantly recruiting. All right, if you really want those benefits.
All right, let's. I want to go to another great character that we haven't discussed yet. That actually I've seen a lot of our notes are about them. So let's jump right into this scene. The Vel revelation. hell of a time. At first, I thought it was a lie, but then I'm like, oh no, Perrin knows her later. This is real. This is actually a relation. And Charles, I want you to hit on this because I see you wrote like, does this make the galaxy feel too small? Or do you think it was actually like, oh my God, this makes a ton of sense because the rebellion might only be like 6 people?
Yeah, I mean, so story-wise, I don't necessarily have like an issue with it. I mean, we don't really know what the very, very beginnings of the rebellion outside of Coruscant, outside of the Senate, really look like. So apparently Chandrila had a pretty heavy hand in it, because now we know it's not just Mon Mothma, right? And
It's
this is a
surprising
pretty
to me,
small
honestly.
group at this point. Yeah, it is surprising. But it was one of those moments where I was like, does this, I always ask this question with Star Wars especially, does this work if they're not related? And I think it still does. So, you know, I did have that kind of feeling for the first time, I'll say, watching this show, like, does this make the galaxy feel small? And I don't know that the answer definitively is yes, but it was just one of those, anytime I'm like, oh, that's your sister or your cousin or your brother or your father, I'm always like, oh, Star Wars is doing it again. Like, do they need to be related? So I don't know. I still like their dynamic a whole lot. And there's a new layer added to it that they are family because they're going about trying to accomplish the same thing with basically the same background, but in very different ways. So yeah, I'm not hating on the decision, but I always ask myself that.
Were they like at a family barbecue, got a little too tipsy on the tequila worms, and were like, "Do you hate the Empire? Oh my God, yes!" Should we
finally somebody said it?
Yeah, I'm actually sort of in the camp of like I think that it does really work. It doesn't actually do that for me, interestingly, Charles. It's kind of the opposite in a lot of ways, because I think this show has done something creative with Mon Mothma that we've never seen in any storytelling before, because she's always, which often happens with storytelling, I feel like, is like when you have a leader, like in any sort of storytelling dynamic, that's just their story. They were the leader, right? And Mon Mothma has never really been that, like, she's always been that character. I mean, in the original trilogy, she's this very solemn, many Bothans died. It's just like, and it's kind of like, who the hell is this? Everybody, like, this is their leader. Like, it's just kind of like, it's a little weird and that sort of thing. And we've never,
someone get her some military fatigues. We're all in like browns, and she's like this.
Exactly. And even in Rogue One, Mon Mothma is this sort of like, everyone's going to listen to her character, even if she's a little meek and wants to, you know, understands the dynamic of like the council or whatever. But like this show has not done that with Mon Mothma, right? She is not in charge so far, right? Something else greater is going on, and she's almost cracking a little bit, right? Like she's feeling the pressure. She's feeling the pressure of what it means to kind of be in this, right? And it seems like they're really building up for there to be a lot of external motivating factors for Mon Mothma. And I actually really like that Vel is her cousin, and it maybe looks like they sort of all got into this together, right? Maybe something's going to happen to Vel, and this is going to be the final thing that really pushes her in the direction of, I'm going to take this over. Maybe she realizes that like this piecemeal rebellion leadership situation that's sort of happening behind the scenes is not going to work, and that's what she puts it together, right? So like, I'm just very pleased that she's not the one in charge yet, and they're sort of using this story to kind of like put her in that position. It sort of seems like, which
you have to ask yourself, how does that happen then? Like, how does she become the leader? Like, there's the real world aspect of, okay, Vel and Luthen, they weren't characters before. That's why they weren't around, you know, in the original trilogy, but they were not around, right? So in the universe, you should still kind of explain that. Maybe they're still out there, but either Mon Mothma surpasses them, or she's like one of the last OGs at that point, and she just kind of inherits that position.
Yeah. Can I offer a theory that has no backing that I just thought of would just be
the
horrific?
Only theories I accept.
Excellent. What if Perrin rats out Vel?
Oh shit!
And he's like, "Mon, your cousin. You didn't know this, but she's. I don't worry. I
turned her in. Yeah.
Perrin is such a weasel, dude. Oh,
I know. I want to come back to. I want to come back to Perrin too. And like somebody, we had this conversation recently that there's a really subtle scene. It's not really hugely talked about in the books or comics or whatever, but there's a scene from a Legends comic. I have no idea what it was, in which Mon Mothma has a son, and the son is killed in the Battle of Hoth. Right? That's a Legends comic. I have no idea which one it was. Trevor posted in Slack like a month ago.
Legends.
I know. Say it 3 times and someone will
No,
appear.
it's Sunday. He's
and,
busy.
That's true.
Yeah, you're
actually.
right.
I know. But like maybe this is going to be sort of the throwback a little bit to legends of like maybe Vel is supposed to be her son killed in the Battle of Hoth, right? That she's going to be a martyr in some ways. Like that. I think that's excellent storytelling and also excellent way to sort of nod the hat a little bit to the source material in some ways. But let's talk about Perrin and the daughter because that story is continually being.
Yeah. Wes has a quote that Wes, take this over. This quote just blew me away when he said this.
I was dumbfounded because I've thought about this for myself, to be honest with you. But they are at the kitchen table, and after Vel comes to like greet, and she said, "Hey, I'm here," and all that. Perrin says, "Well, you need a widower at this point. Who's left of any value at your age?" As she's like looking for a husband or something. And I was just like, you bastard. Like, what kind of thing is that to say to anybody to begin with? And he says it so nonchalantly, like it should have been said. Like, of course, this is the right thing to say.
And everyone accepts that he said, like, no one chokes on their soup. You know what I mean? Like, so that just tells you, like, this guy says this stuff all the time.
Well, and Mon also gives the great look. There's been a great meme going around Twitter every once in a while of like you don't know she's gay. Of like looking like Perrin. Like, you need a husband? Yup, sure. And it's like you idiot. Like,
yeah, that was brutal, man. And they are really making him out to be a scumbag. And I think you're right. I think it's a great theory that like we're meant to understand that like Perrin is not a good guy in a lot of ways. That's a great theory that he's gonna be the one to turn her in or figure it out or something. And I don't know. I hope they kill his ass. That's all I can say. Like if something bad has to happen, like this guy sucks, man.
Piggybacking on your theory, is it what's the daughter's name? Is it the daughter who actually like releases that info? Because she's very much on the side of Perrin. She's just Dad lets me wear whatever I want.
Or maybe if it's not Vel, is it Tay? Because they have done a lot of introducing him into the equation, and Lita's talked to him a few times, and Perrin has made comments.
Well, it's interesting because Tay does seem to be almost a step ahead because we know historically the rebellion does end up working with like thieves and smugglers and gang. Like they absolutely bring those people into the fold. We seem to mention it a lot on the show, but the AC Crispin Han Solo trilogy, like we learn a lot about how those guys get brought into the fold of rebellion and things. And it does seem like Tay is starting to go there with this Delvo guy. Like that, I got the vibe that he is like a mob boss. Like she's like he's a thug.
Yeah.
It's like but he's got a lot of money. You know what I mean? It's like
power.
Do you guys?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Like, is this Mon's first step of going that way?
I don't really see this as that necessarily. I see this as something that I really had no idea we were going to get in this show, which is the other side of politics, which is heavy in the books. And we get to see this. There are lots of like kind of big, powerful gangster smuggler characters like Jabba and like, who's the guy that I keep talking about? What am I trying to say? And Corn Horn marries his daughter. What's her name again? What's his name again? Anyway, he's like Booster Terek. Yeah. Okay. So they're like involved in kind of politics in some ways, right? Because it's like the underground people that are not supposed to have power, but they do. So like this political intrigue show, which is all about empire and the Senate and secrets, also has this sort of other side that we've really never seen that is actually kind of involved in the politics stuff, which is sort of the seedy underworld type of characters.
And there was a canon mention of Booster Terek's ship, wasn't in like a couple of books ago. So they could be working on that.
Yeah, exactly. So to see this sort of come together of bringing in like the mob boss type of character into the political like scene is actually really awesome to me because like we've never seen that before.
Very much like Kingpin in Marvel as well. Like they've done that for years of like that's how they get their power and keep it. Like it's so funny that George Lucas brought in Jabba as this slug monster that eventually died, but actually he ended up being one of the most like brilliant tactical like mobster politicians like in the galaxy.
You don't really feel that.
Exactly. So having that be really, really tangible in this scene, I think was important. And and to go back real quick on Vel there, I think it's interesting to have all this going on in Mon's life all at once, because we talk so much about her losing her family through all this. Like, Perrin and Lita are sacrifices she may have to make, whether it's their deaths or whether it's just they leave her ideologically. So having Vel here, I think, is interesting because it is also giving her a way out to like keep some family. She's not losing everyone she loves for Rebellion. She actually does have a confidant. So I wonder if, like, with Tay and with Vel, like, is she going to be able to hold on to these folks, or is everyone just going to slip away as more horrible things start to happen?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I saw on one more small thing about the gangster thing I wanted to bring in. I saw maybe a Reddit thread or something of like, is this show going to have a cameo? Like besides Saw Gerrera, which you could maybe consider a cameo.
He was on the poster. That's fine. We knew he was coming.
That's fair. If there's an unexpected cameo in this show, who do you think it will be? And I think this whole gangster stuff being brought in might be a very interesting way to have a quick cameo to like Black Sun and who's the villain from Solo again? What was his name?
Dryden Voss.
Dryden Voss might be very interesting. He's obviously very luxurious and like he hangs out with the rich. He's killing a planet governor or something as introduced to his character in Solo, right? Yeah. So like the sector, he's the sector governor. Is that what he was? He's having a meeting with the sector governor, whatever the dialogue was there. So that might be an interesting cameo that I might be okay with.
It's a party. Yeah,
exactly.
I love Dryden Voss.
Or even like on those lines, Darth Maul.
If he's
that would be too much. I think that'd be too much.
Maybe a stretch. But there is all this. There is still. That's a good point though. That is kind of next to what I'm kind of thinking. Wes is like we have this live action gangster stuff that's really never been touched. There's the comics going on with Crimson Dawn or whatever, and like
huge
that stuff is huge in the comics. But like we've never seen it really heavily in live action or even animation, honestly. So we have lots of adjacent stuff. So bringing it to live action would be a really fun, interesting thing if they did it right. If they make them scary and cruel and huge, and this is the perfect show to do it with too, in my opinion. Yeah. So
because we've been talking about this is the most sweaty, tension, cruel show, and like if we're actually going to get guys doing that, I think you're totally right. And I want to also hit real quick on the hilariously the title of this episode. Nobody's listening! ! Like it's very key. And we talked earlier. It's very clear that that's happening. And someone on Twitter pointed this out. I don't remember who it was. A lot of people have seen it by now. The dichotomy between Cassian yelling "Nobody's listening" and the end of Rogue One, where Jyn asks him, "Do you think anyone's listening?" and he's like, "Absolutely, yes." And and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's so beautiful to see." You know, this whole show is the evolution of Rebellion and Cassian as a character. And what do you guys think? Obviously, it's the Rebellion listening versus the Empire. Like that's such a huge thing. Did that kind of hit you guys as a surprise of how little the Empire is caring and listening versus how intently the Rebellion is listening? I mean, we have the Bix's, communication devices all about listening and monitoring. The ISB is now starting to monitor. Like listening is actually a weirdly continuous metaphor in this whole show, isn't it?
It is. Even in this shot right here that Wes has picked up, because what's his name's not listening? What's his name?
Kino.
Kino. Yeah, Kino's not listening, but Melshi is listening to the conversation. Right. So like, I love there's so much layering in this show. I'm telling you, there's more filmography, I feel like, in this than in storytelling than since the original trilogy when Lucas's, genius was all in the forefront. But like, I mean, I think I buy that a lot, actually. And it does fit the tone of the show a little bit, of the dialogue from the trailer of they're so fat and satisfied you can walk right into their house. I think that is ultimately the undermining of the Empire, right? They built this crazy super weapon, and it was defeated with a exhaust port, right? Because some scientists that they tried to force into their system and then they forgot about, because that's how arrogant they are. He built a flaw into the Death Star, right? So like, I love that. I think it fits perfectly. And I love that you can kind of see everybody coming to that realization like throughout the show, especially with this prison dynamic. That does create a very fascinating way for everyone to kind of come to the realization that the Empire doesn't give a shit like about anybody or anything. And let's use that now. Like they assume that there's no way for these prisoners to communicate.
So they turn to sign language. They assume there's no way for these people to do things. So like the rebellion keeps adapting and the people keep adapting. And I think that is how fascist regimes, are brought down, is that whatever the people in power try to do, then the people being oppressed adapt, and the people being oppressed adapt, and you adapt and adapt and adapt until eventually you adapt to something that can then overpower your oppressors. Whereas the oppressors are so cocky and so confident that they have beaten you down that they never have to change and they never have to adapt their tendencies. And like,
if you look back,
it wins in the end, but it's real hard until then.
If you remember, like I think it was last episode of they did like an overhead shot of all the Empire or the workers that are in their cubicles, whatever they are. There's like hundreds of them and hundreds and like a bunch of levels. You would think that somebody would be listening or monitoring this stuff, but they're not. So that's kind of dichotomy they played there. Like, of course they're listening, right? They have all these deaths here. What are they all doing? Like, they're not all just like monitoring traffic from planet to planet, right? They gotta be doing something else. But
but they are, but they also are listening when they're not ultra powerful and in control, right? Because they are listening to the outposts on Ferrix, and that's how they caught Bix and that mechanic.
They have the ability
right?
to, and
But they're so arrogant. They're always looking. They're always looking outside. They're never looking internally, right, into their own systems or to their own people. They're just so convinced that everybody is so afraid that fear will keep the systems in check, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and it does a lot.
But like each planet is almost like a little microcosm itself of the Empire. Like even this prison is, because we talked earlier about how even evil like the people in this prison are, and how we're kind of seeing that firsthand, the like small heinous crimes, I guess, as opposed to planet killing. But like that's real. I mean, it makes me feel less bad about the Death Star thing, because like it's making me realize the people that were part of this were all pretty twisted in their little ways. Like, I'm sure there's still some innocent people out there, but the thing about the prison that interests me too is they've done experiments, right, where this was like some psych experiment. Corey, you probably had to learn about this in med school or something, where they put like a bunch of students and there were people who were prisoners and people who were guards, and they had to end that jump
prison
early.
Experiment.
Yeah, thank
you, Corey. Yes.
They had to like end it early because the people that were the guards were like getting really sadistic, even though like everything they're doing is like so I don't know, just based in the human psyche and how it can get twisted when you introduce things like this empire and this regime. And God, it's good.
Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. That is a universal truth.
Yeah, I still don't think it can be overstated that, like Charles, we were alluding to earlier about a prison culture, like being the storytelling lens by which we explain the evil of the Empire is maybe one of the most genius things I've seen, like in Star Wars. Like, it was just like, because that is what the Empire is. It's a prison, right? Like, and we get to
carry yours wherever you go.
Exactly. Right. So it's just like us being able to see Cassian's realization of how evil the Empire is and how you can't escape it through the prison system. The way that this is being told is just utterly genius, man. And like, I also don't know how this is going to conclude either. We have 3 episodes left, right? And I mean, are we going to get a breakout and then 2 episodes? Is the breakout going to be the final?
The next episode is the end of this arc, they have said, and then it's a 2-part finale.
Okay.
So this is the next episode will be the end of this. Well, also, like, the specifics, like, you're absolutely right, because we know that with a touch of a button, they can, like, are they going to charge every floor on the prison at once? Like, then how do you if you have a lift, what do you do? Like,
they're going to need that guy from Oceans. They
my God,
ever touch the floor trying to get to
the wall. The small Asian man that fit in the box that could do acrobats and stuff. He's like a circus guy or something, right?
He was. But the only people that we know get out, right, are Cassian and Melshi. So do you guys think Kino gets out?
No.
I don't either.
I don't think
sacrifices himself.
Well, no, he does. Then he goes to Exegol and becomes Snoke, right? That's how that works.
He gets fried by the floor, turns into Snoke.
Did y'all see someone actually asked Andy Serkis if he's related to, if Kino and Snoke are related, like in an actual interview? And Andy Serkis was like, no. Like,
No,
I'm
are
like,
you
guys,
stupid?
w-
That's
we
funny.
gotta be better than that, interviewers. Come on.
That's funny.
But I do want to ask. So yeah, we got this next one. It'll be the break. I think it's gonna be terrible. But now I assume the last 2 episodes got to come back to Ferrex, just narratively. Like Cassian's coming back home. He left. He went to prison. He's probably now going to realize Marvo was right. He's got to be
Petunia's
part of
gonna
this
die.
rebellion. I think you're right. And also Bix now is fried and gave up everything. Like, I mean, what does Cassian have back home right now? Brazos? Like,
yeah, I think he's gonna sacrifice himself, and his adopted mother is gonna sacrifice herself, and that's gonna be finally what pushes him over the edge. Like, I think
they
that's
brought that up about we don't need her yet, but we'll use her later.
Oh yeah,
right?
Dedra.
Right,
She's
right.
bait. Yeah. That was, I forgot about that. Good throwback.
God,
yeah,
that's
seriously,
gonna break
that was
me, man.
yeah, I know.
It is kind of
what
crazy.
a great character.
It is kind of crazy how zeroed in they are on Cassian. Like, of course that's going to happen because this is a show called Andor, but like they're really pinning a lot on him. Like, he's the linchpin that's connecting all these different things.
I know.
So really, like, it's kind of Luthen's fault and like the rebellion's fault in a way for putting so much attention on Cassian. Like, yes, he joined them, but Luthen really pursued him and pulled him into this world. And so I have to imagine if like Aunt Petunia, I'm going to keep calling her out, if Aunt Petunia dies, if Bix dies, if Brazo dies, like Cassian's going to have to harbor some, pretty awful feelings towards Luthen, I would think.
He will punch that man in the face.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although
that's actually a really good. That's a really good point, actually, because Cassian is like, he's not really involved, and he probably doesn't feel like he's involved at all. I mean, I'm not even totally convinced that
he's just a tourist.
Exactly. I don't think that Cassian is even convinced yet. I don't think this is like this present situation is not enough to convince him to join a rebellion. Even it's going to have to take the personal tragedy, I think, of losing his friends to finally stand up for what's right and stuff, right? And I think that is what's so fascinating is like it's so interesting dynamic that Luthen's involvement of Cassian like sort of forces his hand in a lot of ways. And that's what highlights the true evil of the Empire is like, if you're in any way involved, they will kill everybody and not even shrug about it. Right.
And the dark truth is that if they just did a little less, like if they just let people out when their sentences were done, they would not have a prison revolt. If they didn't kill all these people, Cassian would have just gone on his way and not been part of the Death Star plans. Like, but that's the thing. Like, that's about the power, about the Stanford prison experiment, is that you can't not push farther. Like, that is the point, is that they can't go as far. Which again, I don't know if you guys saw this week. Tony Gilroy did an interview with Collider, I believe, and did mention next season. I think we assumed this, but we did confirm that we're going to Yavin. Like, they're bringing it up. So Cassian is going to be, Well, I mean, again, it's also that's going to be seasons or 4 years, 3 years, 2 years before Rogue. Like, we're taking larger gaps, but we're going to see him go from this tourist, this guy doesn't want to do anything, all the way in. And I'm just like, it's going to be great. It's going to be freaking great, man.
Yeah.
The show rocks, and I'm terrified for
loving this. I mean, it seems like the fan community is sort of coming around to this being arguably the best thing that's ever been done. I finally saw that comment on like, I think it was on the Star Wars subreddit yesterday or today or something, of like Andor is the best Star Wars storytelling we've gotten since the original trilogy, and it had like 5,000 upvotes or something like that. And
here we go.
I think that's true. I mean, I think it's pretty hard to argue with it. Like, at this point, being 9 episodes in with a virtually flawless story, like, I mean, I don't see how they can screw it up with the conclusion at this point. You know, it's just, and I don't know what they got right. I don't know who's doing this is. So this is Tony Gilroy's doing, if this is the writing team's doing, but like, it's just a level of complexity in story arcs that we've just never seen. It just seems so utterly well thought out and so utterly planned. And if this is we have a new formula for how Star Wars storytelling can be done now. And like, I just can't believe it. I mean, every single new show we've gotten has just been the next best thing. And Andor is really just in a class of its own. I mean, it is standalone, an unbelievable good TV show. Forget Star Wars, take that out of it. And like, it's still just a really, really good show that I assume is going to win a shit ton of awards for.
I hope so.
Me too.
It just makes
credibility.
It's nuts, man. I'm blown away with how good this show is.
Yeah.
Like I loved Kenobi. Like, it was a 10 out of 10 experience for me. this show has been so good. It has really highlighted all the flaws of Kenobi for me now, which is pretty insane, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm just here for it. I don't have to pretend at all, like as a Star Wars fan, that this is so unbelievably good. I'm just awestruck every episode.
I just love it. Before we get out of here, I want to highlight one question that Cohen put in the chat here. First of all, you talked about if Marva gets hanged, will the town fight back? Yes, I don't want to think about that because it makes me sad. But two, this is a thing that actually got popped up this week. So, Alex Damon and Star Wars Explained did a little video on it. There are rumors, which again, your mileage may vary, of a Bix Colleen spinoff show. And Alex had an idea about it being set after Rogue One, with Bix kind of living in the world that Cassian creates within Rogue One in his memory. Again, I think we all agree if a product is good, great, we'll watch it. Who cares? But do you think this is a good idea? Or do you think that Andor should just kind of be its own 2-season thing?
What the hell? I don't think I understand the rumor. What do you mean Bix living in the world that Cassian has created? What does that mean?
A Bix show, but it's set after Rogue One. So she knows now that like that happened and she's in the rebellion afterwards.
That's very interesting. So maybe it's not really it's not Bix. It's a which is ironically very close to Biggs, which is another unnamed character.
That's why Alex liked it.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty funny actually. Of like this is kind of like the Andor show. It's the boots on the ground show, but like kind of peak rebellion. Like they have this major victory and leading up to the Battle of Hoth kind of timeline. That could be fun actually to see what
if Gilroy does it, man.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like I think they really, for the most part, have learned from every show that they've done, and so I'm not really going to turn my nose up at any of the rumors that just like if they want to pursue something. I mean, I think they're doing better and better with it. So like I'm down to at least give it a try. Like show me what you can do. World champion Wes is turning his nose up at the rest of the world today, thanks to the Astros.
The rest of those 31 losing teams.
Well, regardless of which show comes in, we're going to be watching it. 3 episodes left of Andor. Cannot wait. Fellas, any final thoughts on nobody's listening before we stop listening to each other and continue with our Sundays?
The last thing I will say about the show in general is that I'm very pleased that it's going to be 2 seasons and that's cut and dry. If there is some other kind of spinoff of the show, fine. But like, I really like that we have a timeline we know we're dealing with. It makes it, I don't know, weirdly easier to enjoy, I guess. I don't know why that is. Like, we just know they have a start and end. So I'm very pleased.
You're not questioning this whole, like the whole story of like, oh, they're going to have a new season, or is the season going to be cut if they don't have enough viewers, or you're just going to cut it off and then we're going to have like this question at the end of the season, like what could have been kind of stuff.
Or,
we already know
really
what's going to be, right?
We can't end it. We want to keep trying to milk it for all it's worth.
I know. Which is weirdly how the Mandalorian universe is starting to feel for me.
Yeah.
So like,
which again, that could be its own thing. It's like a sitcom versus a drama, like but own that, you know what I mean? I hope they just own that. I agree, Corey.
My last thought that I just want to throw out there is for our audio listeners who can't see the screen. The leader of the ISB, that guy who's super mean, he sleeps in jeans. Convince me otherwise.
Like 70s, like high rider, like bell bottom bleach jeans. Yeah.
Wait, you're talking about Partagas or you Lauren?
Partagas. No, it's Partagas. And they're like scratchy jeans too. Like they're not broken in. They're not comfortable. They're like a fresh pair out of the drawer every night.
Oh God. And he doesn't sleep with a water glass next to his bed because he doesn't think he'll get thirsty, like a psycho. No offense if you don't. But hey, it's all written there. On that note, everyone, my gosh, the show continues to be amazing, and you all continue to be amazing. And thank you all. There is a man himself for listening, for watching, for enjoying this week's episode of Bounty Hunt. Keep your eyes peeled for our next hunt. We'll be diving into episode 10. Dang it. Oh my gosh, of Andor. A special thank you to Brian Dooley, Patrick Ortiz, Earl Q, Robert Thomas, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and Elizabeth Cloutier, Ashley Ingalls, and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. Go ahead, tell us all your thoughts about Andor in our Discord and the Andor channel. Use those spoiler tags and follow us on Twitter at Living Force Pod, and all of us individually at Eric Eilerson, at Corey M. Helton, at C. Hankel, and at Boss Wes. Until next time, There's never more than 12. And I'm going to go watch Red Zone.